All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out to the very first Quill and Blade live Q&A. We hope to do some of these in the future. I am Ansel, for those of you who do not know. I'm joined today by Crystal. Crystal, say hello.
Hello.
Also joining us today is our moderation team, including Marms, Rosby Waves, Runic File. Everybody say hello that's going to say hello.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello.
And we might also have Nalu, but we'll see. I don't know if she joined voice chat in this shenanigans. But at any rate, we're going to get started here. The way this is going to work is pretty straightforward. You are all in the Quill and Blade general chat. You will ask questions. We will address them in voice if we can. As always, we will not be doing any spoilers. We're not big into that. Feel free to ask, though. Let us judge whether or not that question is something we can or can't answer. We're also not going to answer anything that's too personal. And remember, folks, generally this channel is safe for work. Please try to keep it fairly reasonable. And there's our Nalu. Everyone wave at Nalu. Okay, and let's go ahead and get started. So if you could submit your questions now, that would be appreciated. Our mods are going to try to grab them as they go by. So if we could kind of keep chat to a minimum just for a second so that we can get that first wave of questions, address it to who you want to address it to, be that Ansel or Crystal. Or if you do want to address one to one of the mods, that's fine. They can choose to answer or not. We'll be happy to let them do that. And we'll go from there. So go ahead and let's get started.
Woohoo, starting off with Tears of Mine.
Are there any other kinds of tears?
You can have tears. I wouldn't have considered that spoilers. But now I'm not going to answer it. No, it's too late.
Marms, if you can keep letting folks that are hopping in know how to join, that'd be great. Okay, let's pause there for questions, and let's see if we can answer some of these. Okay, so yeah, let's pause there, and we're going to start at the top. So I will ask, Crystal, what do you feel was the biggest missed opportunity in Crystal's wishes?
That is a good question. The one that bugs me the most is I never said who Horsey's mother's name was, which may not be a big deal to other people, but I just never did that. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
So in your opinion, what was your reader surprise favorite character? And I'll answer too, but what was yours for your story?
Sorry, I'm thinking. I mean, personally, I was surprised at how much I ended up liking Horsey. That's my personal surprise favorite.
Yep, that makes sense. Horsey was not supposed to be likable, and she was not really supposed to be as big as she was, right?
Yeah, she cried, and I was like, oh no, I have to save her.
So she did. For me, it's tough to say. I'm pleased that people liked Azurite. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to like that story when I was writing memoirs, because it was so different, and I really wanted to write Azurite. And she isn't, quite as well-loved story-wise, but I think as a character, people seem to like her more than pretty much about anybody else I wrote.
And then I guess the next question is, Ansel, how often does Luna become blonde? Or like to become blonde, I'm sorry.
I think at this point she just does it for special occasions or for jokes. So for Nightmare Night, that made plenty of sense. Or occasionally when she just wants to bother anybody. The biggest thing was just giving her a chance to act silly, after things had been so serious for a while. Letting her have that moment of being insane was just fun. Do you guys think that Memoir Secrets could be made into an animated film series on YouTube? I think a version of it could be, yes. Now, we've had some discussions about potentially doing like a radio show for it because, we do have a lot of voice talent and experience over the years, especially, with people like Runic. But it's a lot of effort, and, I used to do a lot of sound editing, and Crystal does a little video editing, but, these things that'll take a lot. If someone were seriously interested in it and we could work with partnerships to do it, then we'd consider it. And I'd love to see that sort of thing, or a comic. But could it be? Yes. Is it likely going to be? Probably not. Let's see here. All right, so this one I'm going to think about for a second. Are there any missed Easter eggs you want to reveal? So if it's not apparent for you guys yet, I don't put a lot of stuff in for no reason. And I put in a lot of little super subtle hints. But, the thing is off the top of my head, I'm not sure. There are some that I could think of off the top of my head, like right this second, but they would spoil the story. So I can't do those. I mean, there's some that are going to be great. And I will say one of my goals, whether right or wrong, whether it works out or not, is when you go back after you've read the first 3 memoirs stories from that line, when you go back and read it a second time, I just want you to go, how did I miss this the first time? It's so obvious. That's really what I want. Crystal's thinking over there about whether or not she has something like that.
Yeah, no, I know there have been things that I snuck in there, and I was like, I wonder if anyone will notice, and it never got picked up in the comments, but off the top of my head, I can't remember them, but I know there definitely are some.
So not the Winter Soldier?
No, not that one. Rosby, I'm putting you on permaban.
Okay. Were there any scenes or version 1.0 characters that were cut? Yes. Massive amounts.
So many.
Yes. So we'll both answer this one. From my perspective, I write well in advance, like well in advance. And the way I look at it is like building a tower out of blocks. First block closest to the ground is very solid. The next one up, pretty safe. Third one, fine. By the time you're at your 8th block that far in advance, it's really just a loose draft. There is actually a sequel to Memoirs of a Royal Guard, as in like I was going to go further past it instead of ending it where it should have ended like it did and then doing Secrets, which is a divergent plot. That was about 40,000 words that I pretty much just canned. I have thrown away scenes so many times. There is a mountain of stuff on my cutting room floor. And now Crystal's turn.
There are definitely some things. For me, the really thing that stands out the most of the cutting room floor kind of thing was originally Crystal's Wishes was going to be like maybe 20 chapters. Then I really got into writing it, and some of you that were there from the beginning were really supportive, so I just kind of kept writing, and now look where we are. But originally, the first chapter was just going to be a prologue, where then it would jump, some years future where Crystal still didn't have her cutie mark because Velvet had accidentally scared her out of it, and they had run into each other, and that was basically it for Velvet, and then it would continue from there. But then I started writing Velvet, and I was like, oh no, these two are going to be besties.
Or more.
No more. They're sisters. Come on, y'all.
Okay, let's see here. I'm following through. Okay, this one's going to be a tough one. We'll give our answer, though. How old is Silent Night exactly? So we will not answer that question, and let me explain why. We don't feel that ponies directly relate to our ages. So, for instance, Rosby is what we might consider a middle schooler, right? That's kind of the joke. But he has jobs, and it's not exactly inappropriate. So you can view Silent Night as somewhere in the stage of life that a 19 to 25-year-old would be in. And basically, the general gist is he's a little older than Crystal. Runick's a little older than him. Rosby's the youngest. But we like to keep our ponies less analogous to reality. And Crystal, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, that's pretty much how I feel. If you say a number, like if I say that Rosby is 13, well, that has a lot of different meanings to different people. Or if I say Crystal is 22, then that has, the same kind of effect. So it's just easier to say they're young adults or they're pre-adolescents.
Exactly. Okay, next question. When did you start writing in conjunction, as in showing each other's characters' viewpoints? I'm going to let Crystal answer this one because she has a sharper memory on this, and I don't remember it this way at all, but I 100% believe her. I just have a crappy memory. So she's going to kind of explain how that worked, and her story is canon.
Woohoo! I like this power. We were working together in conjunction, basically, from the first time Crystal appeared in Memoirs. So there was The Unwilling Stallion, where we first saw Silent Night. That doesn't obviously correlate to Memoirs. The first shared perspective, if that is actually the question, would be when Crystal was at the Quill and Blade, Sofas and Quills? Quills and Sofas?
Quills and Sofas.
Quills and Sofas, yeah. Where she was there shopping and Princess Luna and Silent Night walked in.
Okay, as a kind of a follow-up to that, was the Quill and Blade universe always going to be, a universe? As in Memoirs of the God, Crystal's Wishes, where they started, were they going to intersect? Yes. So I knew going out of the gate I was going to do an AU because there are things that I knew in canon would not work for my story, things I didn't want to do from canon in my story, and more importantly, and this is going to sound rude, I'm tired of people telling me, well, this is how it happened in canon, this is what happened in the show, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I'm using a theme. It's a wonderful theme. I love ponies. But as an artist and an author, I have to have freedom. So I knew AU. So when Crystal started, she knew she was going to write in universe, but I feel, and she can correct me if I'm wrong, was tentative about putting the AU tag on it because nothing really in her story showed different from the universe, but hers was always Quill and Blade from the very, very beginning.
That's pretty much the case. And also, if you go into it seeing the alternate universe and then pretty much, yes, Quill and Bay. If you see the alternate universe tag, again, stigmas and such, and I didn't want people to go into it when it's already kind of niche, seeing the AU and being scared off by that, especially when very little is different.
Okay.
I basically put it on when Cadence came into things because, I just don't want to hear about how she don't have wings.
All right, here's a good one for you, Crystal. I know you've been asked this before.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, how do you imagine your OC's voices? Can you give any examples of, say, an actress? Because I know you've done this. So, how do you imagine their voices?
Yes, actually, I have been asked this before, and I can even pull up the links if anyone's interested. But I kind of see Crystal as being Maid Marian from the Disney's Robin Hood, and Velvet is like Meg from Hercules. That's pretty much exactly how I hear them.
Excellent. Me too. All right, let's see.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead, babe.
I was just going to say I'll go grab the links if anyone's interested.
Okay, next question. Do you have planned endings for the stories? Like, is there a set ending? So, I will give you this. There is a very much strong thing. When I started memoirs, I just did it for the fun of it. I knew what I wanted to write. I was kind of having a good time. I didn't expect to be, when I started out this, I didn't expect to be hosting a live Q&A with 25 people in it a year from starting, right, y'all? I mean, you've been amazing. Truthfully, you've been amazing. I didn't expect it to go anywhere. So I had ideas. I had some long-term plans. But, really when memoirs was getting towards the end of memoirs, I was putting in hooks, but I just didn't know where I was going to go with it. And, that was evident in the first, say, 15 chapters before I went back and rewrote them. And I didn't change them significantly, but I added additional scenes that put in those hooks. The second I started Secrets, and this is the funny thing, this is kind of like the George Lucas thing, there was never planned any sequels for Star Wars, no matter what he tells you. There's a whole book on this. It's a big load of BS. Star Wars is a self-contained story from start to finish. There doesn't need to be anything before it or after it. It works by itself. And there's whole books on this. And, George just likes to rewrite history. Well, that's his right. When you're a billionaire, you do what you want. So I, on the other hand, am not going to lie. Memoirs was going to be a standalone, but as it got popular and I got towards the end, I started to realize, I'm going to get a sequel. I better start planning for that. When I started Secrets, I knew Secrets was going to have a sequel. I was going to take some risks. I was going to do some things different. And, as you guys all know, Secrets is very different from Memoirs, but I knew there was going to be another part. So Secrets will be ending soon. I've got 4 chapters left. They're pretty much 100% outlined. A lot of it's really well drafted. It's just putting the P's and Q's together. Secrets will end and go directly into the next story. That next story will resolve the major plot of the universe. That's what I can say. So there's a major plot. You guys have had some hints of it. You don't know everything, but we're going to see the biggest part in the final one, which I'm not going to spoil the name for, and that's going to resolve the major plot. And that may be Silent Night's end as the protagonist of this, be it that he gets killed, be it that he retires, be it that he's no longer interesting. I can't really say what, but for me, there is a definitive end point there, and I might be writing around him. I might go in the past. But yes, when I finish my 3rd story, we're finishing the main plot, and now I'll turn this over to Crystal, who has another answer as well.
I've already forgotten what the question was.
Do you have a planned ending for the series?
Absolutely.
Okay. And yes, and you're planning 2 more stories, correct?
Yes, there will be 2 more stories.
But they're not going to be as long as Wishes.
No, not if I can help it.
Exactly. All right, let's see here. Let me scroll down.
While he's scrolling, I'm going to go ahead and answer one that's out of order. As I scroll up, this didn't work as well as I thought it would. Y'all talk too much. Some user 753. Will Velvet ever get her 3-way with Crystal and Silent? Velvet doesn't want a 3-way with Crystal and Silent, so no.
All right, let's see here.
I think that's it. We're going to have to start the next set.
Okay. Yep, go ahead and ask your next set of questions, everybody. Let's go ahead.
I guess we should ask if we missed anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone feels missed.
And if we missed your question, just ask it again. It's not that we're not answering it. It's just that we missed it. Just ask it again.
Yeah, we're terrible like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna just be completely like non-spoilersy. Velvet sees Crystal as his sister. There's no romance there.
All right, so while you're asking more questions, I see why not make Silent Night a bat pony? So obviously in Quill and Blade, bat ponies don't exist, and I've got a pretty strong opinion on this. I like bat ponies. I think they're fun. I think there's a ton of canon on them already, or rather, not canon, I'm sorry, fanon, and I really, like, I complain about canon. I really complain about fanon. If you guys want to make me see red, the last thing I want someone to say to me is like, well, Wing did blah, blah, blah in his story. Well, I love Wing's story, but Wing's story is in a different universe, and what Wing did is Wing's unique, cool stuff, and I'm going to do something different. Just like I don't want you to go to Wing's story and be like, well, Silent Night and Memoirs of a Royal Guard did blah, blah, blah. That's pointless to me. That drives me nuts. So I dumped bat ponies. I also don't believe that bat ponies were canon. I know everyone says they were because of that one scene. That's a costume. And then when you see it in the newest, season finale, it's clear that that's wing armor because, that's how I view it. In my opinion, I'm not going to argue it, but that's why Silent Night wasn't a bat pony. And that's why my Nox ponies are a little different because I wanted to do something different than the fanon. And I picked on Wing because I know Wing doesn't care and he's here and he knows what I mean. Let's see here. Scrolling for questions. All right. Ansel and Crystal, are foals expected in the stories to come? Unfortunately, we can't answer that. Yes and no. The answer could be either. Cannot answer at this time.
Horsey's going to have many, many foals, so yes.
Well, yes. It depends on if you mean their foals or other foals. So I guess I can kind of answer that. Dot will continue on, and Dot made a little friend, and Horsey is going to have some foals. There will definitely be foals around them. We are going to include some more foals in the sequels because Dot actually was one of the ones that was more popular than I imagined she would be. But as far as them having foals, we can't commit. So I just say yes and no. It could be either. Did I ever get any weird cameo demands? Yes. Okay. So, and Crystal can kind of answer this too, but I will say I can't, I know we're popular-ish, right? I don't consider us like some prolific, amazing, super popular, whatever people. Maybe we should. I don't know. But until we really put together the cameo call situation, we would get so many requests. And some of them were so off the wall for people asking for stuff that it was like, have you even read the work? Like, what you would do wouldn't even make sense.
More than that, have you seen the show?
Well, that too. And so we had some, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that because I think that's tacky. But yes, we had some really weird cameo demands. And it's just one of those so eventually we went to the cameo call. Let's see here. Ansel, do you think you'll make any new Royal Guard stories with day guards rather than Luna's guards? Excellent question. The answer is 150% yes. There's already one in the works. Also, just as a record, I really like that. When you do ask a question, do an @Ansel or an @Crystal, and it'll highlight, and then we'll know it's a question. So good job, Thunderblast. Everybody do that. Anyway, Sunny Day is my next story, and that'll be what I'll be doing when I'm hiatus on the main storyline. So it's called Sunny's Days because Crystal and I are not clever people. And it's going to take a look at Sunny Day in 3 phases of her life. It's going to focus on her time as a late teenager / young adult, which again, we don't use real ages because, if I tell you that Sunny is quote unquote 14 and she's sleeping around, everyone's going to be like, oh, that means something different, but they're ponies and it's different. So that's going to be very much focusing on her. So in the initial part, you're not going to see much, but we are going to find out why Sunny's a Royal Guard. Then we're going to see Sunny as a Royal Guard commander. And then we're going to see Sunny later. And I can't talk about later at all because later takes place during the 3rd and final phase of the series, but that's going to be crazy. So I don't know if that's going to be 1 story or 2 stories or 3 stories, but, it's going to be very different because, as I mentioned earlier, Memoirs was one thing, Secrets was different, and I considered it a risk. Ansel, Crystal, what's the weirdest question you've received? Oh, goodness.
This one?
We've gotten some really crazy questions. Crystal got one recently that I think it was a language barrier issue that we couldn't figure out what it meant. And again, we're not going to name names. It was just, I just think it was a language barrier issue. And so, we've gotten some weird ones, but, we try not to judge or think anything's too weird, and you never know on the internet. So I don't want to name any because someone may have asked them or had a bad day. So, yes, we've gotten some weird ones, but I don't want to call anybody out if that's okay. Let's see. Does Silent want a three-way with Velvet and Crystal? Not particularly. So
I already answered that one.
No.
The other way around. I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. Sorry.
Yep. Does Silent want a three-way? No. He would have dated them both if that's what it would have taken to get to Crystal, but he really didn't want to. Oh, Zomagod, that's a good one. What is your favorite cameo request? One that you really wanted to do. I will say, for me, I like writing Div. So that's Average Amazing Me's character. I really like writing him because it just worked out that he got picked a long time back just for the House Guard. But then I had a chance to read a little bit about him, and it just so worked out in the way that, I like a lot of the OCs I see, but the way he had written Div spoke to me for some reason the way I write, and so he worked really well with my House Guard. So I will say, most of the other cameos worked pretty well, but for some reason Div just fit perfectly. And also, it depends on what you say when you say cameo request. I'll be honest, I like writing, Painted Wave. That's a real fun one for me because I get to make these ridiculously stupid puns, and then I get to send Painted Wave, the artist, I send her these notes. Hey, Painted said this ridiculous pun. Is this fun? And that's the sort of thing, because that was the challenge she gave me. She said, well, she likes to use puns, and I said, challenge accepted. So I like that. Those are two of some of my favorites. I like writing Runic, but at this point, Runic's not a cameo anymore. When I decided, initially Runic was a cameo, because, Runic is not, Runic and Rosby and Marms, they tolerate us, but they are not as pony as Crystal and I, although we're kind of dragging them. So Runic started off as just kind of funny. Then it became a big part, and then ultimately he ends up being kind of the Silent Night's representation of the element of laughter, right? And that's so just some, but really I like a lot of the ones I do, but those are just three of my favorites amongst many. And Crystal's turn.
Uh-oh. Well, he already took all the fun ones, like Painted Wave. I do so much enjoy writing her. I would say Axel's fun to include because I don't know if Lord Legion would agree with the way I've used him over time, but he's kind of been adapted to be used for all these things, the marriage carriage and the little baby carriage. It's actually made it a lot of fun of the ways I can use that character.
Yeah, I like it.
So I guess I like using characters that I can bend to my will.
All right, this one's for Runic. Is the rock fanaticism just a thing for your character, or do you like rocks too?
I have to say that yes, I do enjoy rocks, not nearly to the extent that Runic himself likes them. It is more just something that I thought of that it would be humorous if he had some sort of strange obsession with something completely mundane like geology. That's basically, it became just a running gag that he can do anything he wants with his alchemy, but he uses his alchemy to change rocks into different rocks.
Okay. Next question. Why did you create the bat ponies the way you did? Okay. So a couple of thoughts here. One, just to be contrary. I mean, really, there's all this fanning out here. I'm not doing it your way. I mean, that's really what it came down to. Because everyone's like, oh, they're Luna's secret police. Oh, they're this. And again, I'm not knocking those cannons, y'all. Make me understand. It's not that I think any of that's bad. I think it's all perfectly fine and valid. It's just, when I look at entertainment right now, there have been so many zombie movies. I don't want to see a zombie movie again. So when I set out to write, I felt like there's a million bat ponies already. There's a million changelings already. What do I have to offer that would really add to that genre? Nothing. I mean, truthfully, it's nothing. I have nothing. I would add nothing of value that was different enough. So I went completely different. It was also important that if the bat ponies were strictly bat ponies, then they would have no unicorns, which would break my plot. So they had to have magic. That was the thing. They had to have magic. And that's one of the reasons why they went the way I did. The other thing is I like the idea that at some point, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they were draconic type ponies with draconic wings and features. But over time, due to breeding, they're kind of more in line. So it was also necessary to narrow the gulf between night ponies and day ponies for this time period. And that's just part of the world building and the plot, because the idea that you're supposed to feel is 1,000 years ago, there was a pretty big gulf between pony types. 2,000 years ago, even bigger and bigger. And as we go through the next story, we'll see that gap widen a little bit, so that in the past, things were very different than they are now. And that's kind of why I did that. Let's see, what's next? I'm not sure I understand this one. Are Riley and Rickety time-traveled Crystal and Silent Night? Oh, Crystal.
Yeah, I understand that one. Actually, Riley, Rich, and what was it? Riley, Rich, and Rickety Rich?
Oh, the old ponies.
Yeah, the old ponies. They aren't time-traveled of them, but they are actually just kind of a fun little based on I Love Lucy. What are the names? Ricky Ricardo and Lucy Ricardo?
Yeah.
So they're just kind of like little name homages to that. So Ricardo became Rich, and then Lucy became Riley, and Ricky became Rickety.
Okay, next question from Zomagod. But Velvet is totally like Winning vs. Cloud Kicker. You're fired.
I'm not even addressing that.
Okay, Forgotten Comrade. I missed some user, 753, when he asked if there were dislike characters. Yes, I was shocked. So again, I knew Secrets was going to be a risk. I was shocked at how fast everybody turned on Silent Night. That's the truth. I was shocked at how fast everybody turned on him. So, yeah, I misread that a little bit. Not going to lie. So I will also say this. I went back prior to release and toned down, especially the Lights Out chapter. I toned it down because I was worried. And already people were, kind of turned on Silent Night. And the original couple of drafts of that were even harsher than the one that came out. So I knew I had to course correct a little bit because he wasn't supposed to be hated. So yeah, I'd say that one for me, the most surprise dislike character was Silent Night. Crystal?
For me, it's actually kind of interesting how people, no, it's not interesting. This is exactly how it was intended, but Willowy Tempest, how very different the reactions are to her in Secrets of a Royal Guard versus in Crystal's story, just because we see the two different sides of her. That was definitely on purpose, and she's supposed to be kind of slightly an antagonist in Secrets, and she just doesn't like Silent. But it's also just funny to me how I'll see someone who reads Wishes comment like, oh, haha, Willow, you did this thing, blah, blah, blah. And then in Secrets, it's like, oh, Willow, I just want to bash her in the face.
Yeah, that's true. Do you get fanfics of your stories? Yes, we do, actually. Crystal more than I do, I would say. Although I do have a few. Crystal's got some really fun ones, and some of the people in this channel have actually written these because they're awesome. But yes, we do get fanfics of our fanfic. Okay, Crystal, Ansel, what characters are submissions and which are created by you? Okay, that's tricky because at this point we've been doing this for a year and there's a lot of both. And I'm sorry for eating into this. I'm eating some jelly beans to get the energy up. Most characters in my story are by me. So basically anybody of authority in my story is my character. Runic split between me and Runic. He comes up with a lot of the concepts. I put them into action. So characters that were submissions. Let's see here. Div is a submission. Ruby Moon is a submission. Axel's a submission.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. We really put a lot of our fans into them. And then it's tough. The other thing is Crystal and I hate coming up with generic, no-name, useless ponies. So we ask for OCs a lot and just use them as a better version of that. A lot. I'm sorry, there's a lot. Ever think of coordinating an original fiction series? All the time. We're failures at it. Couple of reasons on that. We used to do that. So a while back, I put together, and I've been working on it for about 15, 16 years now, an original setting based on, originally it was on D&D 2.5, and then of course through the years it's migrated, but there's a lot of short stories with it, a lot of DM material, a lot of source book type stuff that I put together on a decent generic fantasy theme. I feel like it's, It's not Forgotten Realm good, but it's probably a little better than like, Vanilla Greyhawk, that sort of thing. We've written some stories in that together, and it's been fun. But, there's just not a market for quote-unquote original fantasy. I mean, it's tough, right? It's tough. So one of the reasons why we did pony fan fiction is because we had a built-in audience. People would come for the ponies, but stay for the original content, which is why we focus very much on OCs and AUs. Because if you really think about it at this point, folks, how much of the fact that you continue to read our stories is based on the fact that it has anything to do with My Little Pony? I mean, just kind of think about that for a minute and, be honest. Will Iridescence and Winterspirit ever get married? I can't answer that at this time. I apologize, but yeah, we can't answer that one yet. That's spoilery. We are not having foals named Agnes Beverly. Or are we?
We're not now.
Let's see. Is Silent Knight going to steal an airship and become a pirate in the end? Maybe.
One of us does have a planned pirate character.
That is correct. Okay, at Ansel and Crystal, considering the last wedding scene in your stories, are there similarities for your own special day hidden in there? I will let Crystal take that one.
There is, I'm trying to think. We did definitely borrow a lot of things that really stood out to us when we remember our wedding. For example, ones I can think of off the top of my head. My lunch was ruined, my wedding day lunch. Panera Bread changed the recipe for their French onion soup that I've been loving for years. We go out for that. I knew it would be good. It'd be easy to have on my stomach, and they changed it, and it was awful. Yes, Nalu, it was not perfect. Some other things that I'm trying to think of.
I did play games with my groomsmen up to that point. That was real. We did have a choreographed dance that we worked on very hard. And there's actually a funny story that goes with that. So Runic DJ'd our wedding because he's awesome and he didn't charge us. And he had the song on there. And Runic, take it away. What happened?
So when I go to play the song, everyone's standing around, and then it pops up. The song isn't in the location you are, and it doesn't start playing. So then everyone's standing around staring at me, so I start freaking out because the song's not going. The dance needs to start. So I have to go through all the directories of my computer to find out where the song got moved to, find it, and click and play it before everyone kept staring at me too much.
While the bride and groom are still standing on the dance floor staring at him in horror. And also, He didn't know exactly what we were going to do.
Yes. Which I also, apparently, I thought it lasted a lot longer in silence than it actually did, but that's probably because I was freaking that out.
So that was true to life. The gameplay prior was true to life.
The dress that Crystal is wearing, her hairstyle, and the necklace are what I had done and worn and had.
Also the octopus bouquet.
Yes, oh my gosh, that is so true. The octopus bouquet, that was awful.
That was, yes. My mother did that to her. So for those who don't know, and I'm not trying to, if you've never been married or you're not that age, the groom's family is typically responsible for flowers. So that's just a thing. I don't know if that's everywhere, but in the South, so the groom's family is responsible for the rehearsal dinner and the flowers. The bride's family traditionally pays for the wedding, which, woohoo, were that true. Anyway, so my mom took Crystal, and was it her business partner? Who else was with you that went to the florist?
Tara.
Mm-hmm. So my mom, her business partner, and Crystal went to the florist, and Crystal knew exactly what she wanted and had instructions from me, and then my mom just did whatever the heck she wanted. And thus on the wedding day. But here's the best part. Tell the story, because I wasn't there.
So my mother-in-law-to-be comes in with the bouquets and is like, oh, aren't these so wonderful? I'm like, whose are those? Because those aren't mine. And so I just kind of freak out until my wonderful maid of honor, she's like, don't worry, I got this. And she and exactly, Nalu. She and Marmsey and pretty much all my wonderful bridesmaids, while I'm having a panic attack over this octopus sitting on my bouquet, just snip them right off. Yes, Rosby was there. Snip them right off and just kind of it was like bluebells or something, and just took the flowers and interspersed them throughout the bouquet. It was so bad.
Well, the best part is when my mom came in.
Well, after the wedding, or after the ceremony, we're standing around and whatnot, and the mother-in-law comes up and she looks at the bouquet and starts to go, oh, and then she just dropped it. It was very clear she was going to say something, and then she dropped it.
Yeah, smart lady. So yes, hopefully that answered the question. Okay, what pony was the most destructive that showed up in your stories? Probably Silent Night. That's tricky. The one with Unwitting Armageddon, that was pretty funny with them almost blowing up the barracks. Let's see here. Scrolling.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably Runic.
Runic, yes. Runic is a fair, especially in your story.
But it's comedic destruction, so it's okay.
What does BFFFFF mean? Do you mean BBBFF?
Oh, no, that was because I was goofing off. I said, what did it say? Oh, that the princess changeling rainbow thing would be Crystal's BFF, which I was just joking. It's best friend forever and ever, or forever and forever and forever. I was just being goofy.
Okay. Oh, I see. I'm still scrolling. Yes, Seth, definitely bleep out that recording when I say what the title was. That'd be great. Let's see here. When will the next cameo call be? Tricky. Not soon. Maybe first quarter next year. We still have to get through the ones we are now. And the trick with cameos, especially with the Patreon cameos, we're going into hiatus on both the mainline stories, and if they don't fit into the secondary stories, it's going to be tough. So I'll give you an example. Beard's been very polite and waited on Sunny's story from the original cameo call, and I'm actually super happy with the cameo I did for his character. This is another one where we kind of get a winner, and sometimes you're like, okay, I don't know if this is going to fit, but I kind of talked to him a little bit about this, and I'm actually really happy with it came out. I think it's really cute, so I'm kind of excited about that, and that's going to be in Sunny's days. But when will be the next cameo call? I think we're going to dislodge every cameo we've got now before we do another one. So it might be a little while, unless we hit the Patreon level where we're sort of obligated to. Let's see here. Yep, Average Amazing Me is currently out of the country. What's my favorite hidden thing? Unfortunately, I can't answer that because when you guys figure it out later, you're going to go, oh my goodness. So, okay, I'll tell you one since I sort of spoiled it. Farrell has already said what the title of the next story is. If you go back and read, you're going to be like, oh. So Farrell has already told you what the title of the third story is. Seth, if you don't have to edit it, but if you want to, I don't want to put any work on you, but if you want to edit it, by all means, you get the thumbs up. Let's see. Really general question, Ansel. How do you come up with the personalities of the Royal Guard characters? So Silent Miley Azurite. Okay. So that's a fair question. We get that one a lot. I'm going to let Crystal answer it too so she can kind of talk. Nope, she doesn't want to take Oh, okay. I was like, the look on your face said no.
I'm really bad at reading and listening at the same time. So he'll be talking. I'm like, okay, he's going to answer a question. I could read through some of these questions, prep myself, and then I realize he looks at me and I have no idea what's going on.
Okay. So I start characters with a very loose core idea. That's how I start them. So when I started Silent Night, for example, I knew I was going to take a lot of my military background and put it into a character and basically initially make him feel one-dimensional, right? So he's very, very dense. He's, socially awkward. He doesn't have anxiety, but he just doesn't understand anything but that, right? That's the core of the character. And that's a good starting point because you're saying, okay, I make this character deficient, which initially may seem deficient as an author. You're like, wow, this character's not interesting, but it gives you so much room for them to grow. So I give them very minimal core traits. And then the truth of the matter, and I can't really explain this, and Crystal does the same thing, I just write them. And they kind of dictate where they go. And so you kind of start to build rules like Silent Night won't lie. He's not going to outright bold-faced lie unless there's an extreme excuse. He's not going to hurt a pony. He's not going to do this. Miley, Miley's easier because she's such a smaller character, right? Miley was just going to be my derpy hooves. That was it. It's like everyone likes derpy hooves. I love derpy hooves. I wanted a Miley hooves, so she's my derpy hooves. And then it just so happens that it was kind of cute that maybe she has eyes for Runic, and suddenly that happens because she's looking at him. He's kind of silly. Runic's kind of, and it just happened. I mean, it was never planned for Miley and Runic to get together, but it just did. Azurite is a special case. So I suffer from anxiety, and it's been a struggle through my life for the last, 14 years. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's not so bad. Runic, Rosby, Marms has not had to deal with a lot of it yet, but and Crystal have had to see me at my best and my worst. Azurite has some of the thoughts I have, and I'm not exactly like her. It's different, but she has those traits, and I wanted to put those into her so she'd feel authentic. And then I exaggerated them, and that was the core of her. It was this anxiety exaggerated. Now, Azurite's original draft, we talk about the cutting room floor, it had to be cut because it was dramatic and incredibly sad by just a small change. And the small change wasn't that she killed. So, it ultimately ended up she had to kill a pony to save her partner. Originally, Azurite was Lavender's little sister. And the first chapter was so sad. There was no way I could get out of it. And the whole tone of Hearts was going to be horrible. But, that's where you change. All right, let's see here. Scroll. And Crystal's going to answer that question if she wants to as well. How do you come up with personalities for your characters?
It's pretty much the same for me. I come up with just the core, and you just write them. Even if you don't publish it, just write them in situations, and eventually they just sort of develop. There have been times where I had to rewrite a scene because it was getting to the point where I'm like, this just really doesn't feel like Crystal, or this just really doesn't feel like Velvet, because I was trying to guide it. It works so much better if I just sit there and write and just, okay, I'll write this line. Okay, how would Velvet respond to that? And it just eventually, I don't even have to ask that question. It just keeps writing. Because Velvet was just basically nice, shy, bullied pony from Manhattan, and that was pretty much it. And now look at her. She's not shy anymore.
Is there an inspiration that created High Horse?
High Horse was my silver spoon. And then it got to the scene with the butter, and I was like, well, I kind of want a chubby pony so Crystal can say the really mean line about how much butter do you put on your toast in the morning. And then I just decided that'd be High Horse because I already had that name. And then she cried, and I was like, I am such a horrible person. And then other than that, it just, that was it. She was the chubby pony. And now she's kind of my favorite.
Okay, let's see here. Not seeing questions. So, mods, if you want to go ahead and open up questions again, please. And
we're taking questions, all questions. Answer them now. Yes, unleash the Kraken. Yes, all questions.
Zombie, no. Whatever you're thinking, no.
Questions.
All right, this is a fair one. I guess it's related to my profile in FimFiction. It's, why aren't I chatty? Fair question. So, I am typically, when you see me on FimFiction, it's during work hours. I have my personal laptop open during work hours, and then when I'm at work and I'm stuck on a technical problem, it helps me get through it and to think around it to just sort of write a little bit because it's a different portion of my brain and I'm not thinking of the problem directly. So believe it or not, I do a lot of my notes and ideas at my job, and that's okay. And so sometimes I'm doing that on FimFiction. People are sending me messages, and I can't be on FimFiction responding to all the messages I get all the time during work hours. And then the other truth is I don't write a lot or do FimFiction a lot when I go home from work. Once I'm home from work, the last thing I do is really sit on the computer. We might play Final Fantasy, or we might, play my iPhone Final Fantasy, or we might go out and do stuff. But really, that's sort of like private time between Crystal and I, and then a couple days a week with Rosby and Runic and Marms. So it's just, I can't really do it. And then the other thing is again, it got rampant at one point where we were just getting so many messages, both of us, and it's just, some of it, people, I'm like, I'm not sure what you want, or, someone just wanted to chat, like idly back and forth on Fim about, just their day and stuff. And that's fine. And I'm not against it. It's just, I'm at work. You're telling me about your trip to the grocery store. Today, that's just not good. I'm sorry. I can't help you there. Let's see. Talk about the places you live, where we live. Yeah, that's a little private. We live in North Carolina in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty nice. Let's see here. Have you ever thought of Runic meeting Maud? We did. So Runic existed before Maud existed. That's the trick there. and it was already kind of on his plot. So it was one of those situations where it would be only me reacting to the show. Tricky there to that point. So I've thought about it. I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I'm still scrolling. Y'all give me just a second here.
No, it's because Dragonheart is awesome. Yeah.
Do you guys get ideas from movies, other fanfics, or even real life events for any of your stories? Okay. Crystal will answer this one as well. I don't read a lot of other fanfics. I just need to say that. I know that kind of makes me an ass because I'm not a great member of the community in that regard. I struggle to read for a couple of reasons. The first one is I'm legitimately dyslexic. I read very, very, very slowly. And there are ways around it, but generally the ways to do it is to read all the time and use a couple other tricks. But I read very slowly. Even things I want to read requires a lot of effort. So that's the primary reason why I don't read a lot of fanfics. Now, the other reason, do I have another reason? Oh, yeah. The other reason is you guys have to understand the commitment we've put together to release the 6,000 to 8,000 words of content each week, every week, plus the Patreon stuff, plus doing the Q&As. That takes a lot of time, y'all. Truly think about that. If you've ever written anything, imagine doing that every single week for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so you got to think of it like this. You spend, and there's some times where we're writing up until we go to bed to make sure we get it done for y'all. The last thing I want to do is go read something. So like while I've been on vacation, I've been catching up on the fan fictions I really want to read, and the other thing is if I'm going to read them, I'm going to try to respond and leave comments because I like that. And, it's important to me. And so I do my best, but it's tough. So do I get inspiration from other fan fictions? Not very much. I will say the only example I can really give off the top of my head is Azurite being undersized was basically a slight homage to Fallout Equestria because I think it was cute that little Pip was small and that was a challenge for her, and I wanted to have another element to Azurite. So that's why Azurite was small. Had I not done that, had I not read Fallout Equestria, I don't know that Azurite would have been small. As far as getting inspirations from movies and stuff, we don't go see a lot of movies because I can't sit in the theater. I get anxiety, so we don't go very often. We're still trying to plan where we're going to go see Star Wars because I will see that in a theater. But, I do draw from past movies, from books I've read, television shows, that sort of thing. And, of course, now Crystal can answer.
I do read probably more fan fiction than Ansel does. I'm really bad about commenting, usually because I'm reading before bed. So I'll read through the chapter and then I put down my iPad and go to sleep. So I'm very bad about commenting, which I feel so guilty about because I love getting comments and then not giving them makes me feel like I'm doing exactly what I don't like to receive, if that makes sense. Also, I'm at 10% battery. Give me just 1 second to find my cable.
Okay. I'll take over while she's already found it.
Right. I probably get my most inspiration just from life. Probably I have some influence from movies. I watch a lot of Bollywood movies.
This is true. She does. She really does. Okay. Based on your response to the Silent Night issues in secret, does that mean the original Lights Out raid had airstrikes? Well, ironically, the one that we see has airstrikes. The immolation potions that Blur threw on the Griffins, I toned that down at how horrible it was. But, you got to imagine something that burns even in the rain getting tossed on a, fleshy thing. That's pretty rough. No, in the original one, Silent Night, there is no spear, and Alistair doesn't go for it. Silent Night basically has already at that point just judged that he was too big of a threat to be allowed to live. So Silent Night just kills him flat out. And that's, that's one of the things. And is not apologetic about it. Okay, so let me answer this one, Barrett, and I will go ahead and announce it since it's came up. Crystal and I are discussing doing physical books of our stories. And this would obviously be a not-for-profit venture. It's not a charity, but it's a not-for-profit venture. It's what we would call an at-cost venture, meaning if the price to produce a book was $37.50 to get it to you, meaning that's the price to produce the book, ship it to us, ship it to you, separate out the editing costs across all the books and separating out the cover costs across all the books, that's what we would do. We would issue one. We are tentatively floating that balloon to see who's interested. I need to make it seem worthwhile. We'd need to do probably, we could do it as few as 25 of each copy, but at that point, I have to make sure the cover artist is covered. If we do professional editing, that it's covered. But Britt, to answer your question, I'm already seriously looking at doing the first one, which is memoirs. I don't want to put any stress on anyone doing the cover. And I think Q1 might be a little too soon, but we may start taking orders in Q1 to know what, that demand is. Because if the demand is 10 books, we're not going to do it. But then again, like I said, over the course of this evening, we've had almost 25 to 30 different people come in and out of here. Who knows, And the goal is to do all of them. Let's see here. All right. What is our method of choosing cameos? So, to be fair, we don't have any. We don't have an unofficial method. So the actual method is literally the official method. So, number one, if you're at the appropriate cameo level in Patreon, you get your cameo. I don't know if you're asking how do we pick people, or are you asking how we fit them? So, if you're Patreon, we do your cameos. End of discussion. And if you win the cameo call, we do your cameos. Other than that, if you see other cameos, chances are it's someone that we are friends with outside of film fiction, if that makes sense. So obviously if it's not clear, Runic and Rosby, they went into our house today and checked on our bird. So you may guess why, that they're cameo, that sort of thing.
And ate your food.
Well, yes, thank you. You didn't eat enough, though. Go back tomorrow and eat the rest. So, yeah, cameos are chosen based on the rules that we put out. Crystal and I are very, very strong on fairness. And fairness mostly, although it depends on whether you determine that as fairness or justice, but equality, yeah. So, again, patrons get their cameos around once a month. It doesn't always happen, but around once a month. And then the cameo call is the only other way at this point, unless you are somebody very special to us, and not saying that other people aren't special. It's just, it's a very small group. And so that way we keep it, if someone says, well, why is Runic in there? Because he's one of my best friends in the world, and if he needed to hide a body, I'd help him. Kind of hard to argue with that one. Okay. Is Quill and Blaze Equestria a matriarchy? I always thought the Mayor's Rule the Rule was meant as a joke, but the more I look at it, the more it seems literal. It is, in fact, a matriarchy, and you'll notice in a lot of things we both do, they mention, so it was at the wedding, we did do wife and husband, right? And it's Mrs. Crystal Wishes and Mr. Silent Night. It's definitely, they're more equal. Ponies are definitely more equal. But there is no historic male gender bias. And I would say historically it would be mare gender bias. Right, honey?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. Silent has a keen interest in airship armadas. Is there any board game with a similar nature which he has interest in? As in the reality, or of a similar nature which he has, or that he's interested in? So Airship Armada is based on Star Wars Armada, which is a real game. Runic and I play a lot of X-Wing miniature games, and then we got into Star Wars Armada, which is why it's just kind of funny that that's what they do. That's where that comes from. Silent has a lot of interest in any board game that's very tactical, which is different than me. He likes the really long 4-hour board games. I am more of a 90-minute guy. But anything like Twilight Imperium, Diplomacy, Axis and Allies, Silent would be into that. When is the Dragon expansion for Airship Armadas coming out? Good question. I need to just make the game. We'd all be not rich, but board games, tough market. Why is Silent so interested in Crystal and Velvet sleeping together? I think he's afraid of it. After the iridescence thing, I think he's actually afraid of it.
And the best way to get through something that scares you is to make a joke out of it.
That's true. Let's see. Exemplar Feral, where is my shipping? You're not going to get shipped. You're too old. Let's see. What do you think about Silent Night and the dragon scene? I personally loved it. I thought it was very important, and when Crystal read it the first time in pre-editing, she just was drawn to it immediately. And I will say that dragon scene was a long time coming, because they talk about a dragon snooping around there in memoirs. And let me just say, I know in some ways that dragon scene just sort of seemed like out of the blue silly. Well, folks, that was important. Okay, I think we answered, do we get ideas from that? Runic meeting mod, I think I answered that one. Ansel, is there anything external that inspired the colors of Silent Night? Yes. I love blue. And everyone that knows me in this channel knows that I love blue. And I like white, and I like white and blue. So when we were joking around at the idea of making ponies, mine was white and blue. End of discussion. There was never a question in anyone's mind. White and blue. Yeah, Crystal's shaking her head.
Yeah, every shirt he brought for this vacation is blue. So yeah.
That is actually a fact. That is, yes. Let's see here. Zomagod. Crystal, can you sing Come On Eileen? Crystal? No.
No, there will be no singing. It's for your own benefit.
Do we have names for the rock bands that Runic likes? We do not. And Runic can come up with something if he wants.
The Rolling Stones, wasn't that one?
I think so.
Well, or just steal the Rolling Stones?
It was Bob Dylan that he was singing. Okay, let's do one more round of questions if you guys want, mods. Let's do one more, because I was planning about 90 minutes, but it looks like we might be running out of steam here. So let's do one more round, and then we can do some just general talk. But let's go open it up one more time, and then we'll call that good. But yeah, I was kind of planning around 90 minutes. Why not white mane and blue body? I messed with that. I just felt like white worked better. I really did. I think blue on white's better than white on blue, in my opinion. Do I play Warhammer Fantasy Battle or 40K? I used to play 40K way back in the day during 2nd edition. Too expensive, and I think Games Workshop is a horrible corporation. If I were to win a cameo call, would it be acceptable to submit a character like Rainbow Dash? Do you mean like as in they are like them, or you mean you literally want to submit a canon character? If it's I want to submit a canon character, the answer is no. If you want a character of that nature, yes, that's fine. That's no problem. The tentative thing is as always, we make the character fit the setting, not some people have made the mistake in the past of assuming that we were going to make the setting fit the character, and I've laughed in their face. So, because I'm a jerk. So, Beard, in Sunny Days, like I said earlier, yours isn't even going to be a name drop. It's going to be, I think it's pretty cute. He gets a whole little scene, and it's going to be within the first 4 or 5 chapters. It's already written, actually. I'm pretty happy with it. I played Sisters of Battle. Which OC dancer, which story, and which did you submit to? I have to think about it.
With the weddings, we've been very lax with doing the cameos.
Yeah, we're a bit behind. Like I said, with the stories ending and everything, we're a bit behind. All right, let's see. Crystal, any chance that you'll have Lovey try to find love for Golden Pants?
I mean, if that's something people really want, it's not something I currently have planned, but it's not something I'd be against. I just have to think about it.
Okay. Let's see here. Ansel, Crystal, what are your perspective on Klopp's fics written about your characters? From my perspective, I really am not super comfortable with overt, X-rated material written with Silent Night, especially for publication. Like if someone wants to write something kind of private, and there has been I could think of one example of a tongue-in-cheek Silent Night, not really porn, but it was meant as a joke and it was funny and we all had a good laugh about it, but it's never going to see the light of day, but it was funny. So I'm fine with that. But generally, if someone were to write a Klopp fic tomorrow and post it on FimFiction, I would not be thrilled, but I also don't believe in let me how to explain this. I don't believe that I have the right to tell someone that they can't do that. All I can say is, no, I don't endorse it. But, it's nice that people ask for your permission to use your characters, as they should, because, that's how it should be. But no one has the legal right to say, no, you can't do that. And I very much believe in fair use. And so if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And, of course, Crystal can answer, too.
Again, I do agree that if you really, really, really want to write that, okay, but I would really actually super duper prefer not.
All right. Ansel, are you not concerned that the Pinkie Pie equivalent of your Quill and Blaze universe supports and endorses arson? I went a little crazy with that. That's my mistake as an author because I love the jokes. I love the comedy. And sometimes I went a little too far with Runic. That's one of those situations. I might tone it down a little bit to burn, all the papers in her house when I do the second edition. But the counter to that is, so let's do the counter to that, right? We, as a society, view arson as really bad. Rainbow Dash destroyed the entire weather factory and no one even cared. So, I don't know that it's that big of a deal. I mean, I don't know. So, but the thing is I jumped the shark on that. I really did. I really, really, really did jump the shark on that. Okie dokie. Let's see. What would I play in Fantasy Battle? I don't know. Okay. Well, we do own the characters, but it's tricky. I understand what you're saying, Shaza, but I really believe in fair use. So I really believe if I want to draw Mickey Mouse railing, Rainbow Bright, I have the right to do that. So if I believe that I have the right to draw Mickey Mouse railing Rainbow Bright, then I don't have the right to say that someone can't write Shining Armor railing Silent Night. Let's see. Barrett Crystal, will we explore the Willowy subplot I asked about so long ago in the Wishes sequel?
So that's a little tricky. Technically, I had a little bit more planned for Willow that just didn't pan out because it didn't. My original concept of what I wanted to do with her didn't mesh with who she became. I wanted her to be a little bit more of a friend to Crystal and for them to get closer, but it just didn't work out. The furthest that her subplot that I went with her was they went on the little pseudo date, and she did ask her to the little mayor's lunch, and she was there for that. And I do plan for Crystal to try and be friends with her, but unfortunately Willow kind of has her hooves stuck in the dirt about that.
Okay, sorry, let me get back. Okay. The next one was for Crystal as well. If this isn't a complete spoiler, and I kind of know the answer, but will Crystal answer. Did you or do you have thoughts about reforming Golden Pants?
I do have thoughts, yes.
Yeah, that would be too much of a spoiler. Speaking of Willow, this is another spoiler, but DJ Thomp wants to know, and he put a Christmas hat on his little thing, which I think is adorable, so you have to give him something. Is Frank
You're right.
Is Frank going to be a secret forever?
Well,
Frank?
if I could jump in.
Yeah, okay.
So Frank's existence is basically entirely based on an old joke, and it will be wonderful.
Yep. Frank is actually technically Rosby's character. And yes, there will be a reveal, I promise. Sorry, the Forgotten Comrade. What I meant was the person who owns Rosby and is speaking for Rosby came up with the character for Frank. Sorry. I say the character, the concept. Oh, I'm sorry.
Omen, that's bad. I like it. It's bad. Have I thought about writing first-person Luna? A little bit, but not a lot, because again, even though my Luna is very much adapted from the main canon, Crystal and I both have a huge aversion to directly writing canon characters, and she's nodding seriously.
I included Rarity a little bit, and I got some flack about including Rarity.
Yeah, Twilight Sparkle was going to appear in the third iteration because it made sense from a logical standpoint for me, and then I just basically took the idea, set it on fire, threw it in a trash can, let that burn down, threw the trash can in the toilet, flushed it, and then blew up the water treatment plant. So Twilight will not be featured heavily in the third. Okie dokie. What characters in your universe can play a musical instrument? Well, I will say right off, I can guess that Runic plays something, just like the fact that he can sing, and it's just he has other interests. So, Runic, what would Runic play? Because I'm sure he just plays something.
I imagine he'd be good in a rock band.
But
let's see.
Runic, if Runic's talking, I see him queuing up, but I hear nothing.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything either. Who on Crystal's side would be able to play an instrument?
Who on my side?
Yeah.
Honestly, probably Willow.
Yeah. I see Dot as having been made to play an instrument, probably Iridescence too, because that's what proper ladies do. Winterspear and Silent Night would never have time for it. Azurite, maybe.
Oh, Horsey plays piano.
That's true. Horsey does play piano.
While Runic figures out why his mic isn't working, his original answer was that he would probably, if he played an instrument, it would be the bass.
Yep. Tell him if he's not focused on the app, he can't use his push-to-talk key. Okay. Ansel, do you have a plot planned for Silent Night as Silent Dame? Just yes or no will do. Funny story there. So there already exists something that I've written, and there already exists something that somebody else has written for Silent Dame, and they're both awesome. But I'm not going to say anything else other than the fact that there will be my version of Silent Dame will come out in a second half to Night and Day, another non-canon, just silliness. And I can't say whether or not the other one will come out, but the other one's awesome, and it's actually better than mine. Fantasy Battle, you'd play something cavalry-based. That is probably correct. I do like cavalry. And I need to give the 15-minute warning. We're going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes, but this has been pretty serious and fun, so we will definitely do this again. Let's see here.
Oh?
There you go.
There we go, yeah. I was saying I'd play the bass because everyone looks at me and say, you look like you should play the bass. I don't play the bass.
There you go. It's canon. Runic plays bass.
Did you try turning it off and on again? Is that what did it?
Yes, actually, that's exactly what did it.
Yeah, for some reason, after a while, it just decides that you are no longer allowed to talk.
Yes. Also, I saw another question, I guess, for me a while back. What is the most insane thing you imagine Runic doing? And the idea in my head has actually been him developing the Equestrian Space Program. Because there's that basically throwaway gag from that when they were talking that he tried to fly up into space to go to the moon. And one day he's going to do that. He's going to use explosions, he's going to build rockets, and he's going to go to the moon. And discover there's nothing there but more rocks that are awesome.
And as the universe's marshal that marches it forwards, I can agree 100% that's canon. So yes, Runic and the Equestrian Space Program. Okay, Ansel, what about the Pony Afterlife in your AU? I cannot answer that at this time because it actually would be a spoiler, believe it or not. So there you go. Hint, hint. Let's see. Okay, so, and Ansel, you can say if you want. So yes, Zomagod is writing a Silent Dame AU, and it's pretty freaking funny.
It is so awesome.
It really is. It really is. We had we have conversations and things happen, and it's fun. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what Zomi's been doing, and he makes Crystal and I very, very proud.
You're my boy, Blue.
Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions. So that was fun. Okay, so I guess a couple little housekeeping things. So like I said, we're going to stay the full 90 minutes, so don't worry, we're not going to run off. And I do have a few things.
So it would be like Bert?
Bert, is that right? Okay. Bert. I can do that. Omen, is your story submitted to the original character's form? I'm not sure what that is. Help me out here. Oh, group? Yeah, I think it's in there. We're in a lot of OC groups. All right, so this is 100% non-committal. Let's see, we've got about 14 people left. So just hypothetically, everybody, I'm going to ask 2 questions. I just need like a little show of hands. So if you would do it, just do this one here. A little show of hand there. How many of you would, or a real hand is fine too. Go Marms. How many of you would actually be interested in a printed copy of one of our stories? Like an actual, like a real book? All of you. Okie dokie. That's just the interested in. Okay, I got it.
Aw, y'all so sweet.
How much of y'all would actually...
I agree with Crosby on that.
How much of y'all... Yeah, okay, and so that's the thing. Like, so since this would be shipping is definitely tough. Okay, so basically, I know there's a lot of interest. How many of those would you actually spend the money? That's the real trick. Because I know a lot of people would be interested, but like, what's the general... Okay. Because we're just trying to figure it out. It's just something fun. We're not trying to make any money or anything. Right, and yes, exactly. I know people are going to want to know what the cost is. That's for sure. Okay, so that's fine. Good. Makes sense. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, ebooks would certainly be easier, and I'm not against ebooks, but what else has been fan-made besides drawing ebooks? Well, you've been working on some music. We've got – I see what you're saying now. We've also had some people have done readings on YouTube. I think there's two different ones for memoirs at this time. What else has been done?
No Love for Wishes.
As far as we know, because I like I said, one of them asked permission for memoirs, the other just did it. So
I think the person would die before they finished reading wishes.
valid point.
Oh,
yes. I would pay to have a dramatic Nalu reading of wishes. Scene of the quarter, we have not gotten the art done for that yet. And when I say we have not gotten the art done for that yet, we haven't even picked an artist yet. We have been so far behind trying to make sure the wedding's lined up and whatnot. But yeah, we're a little far behind there.
It's one of those things where like every day we'd be like, oh, we need to do that. And then we did it.
Yeah.
It's considering that y'all picked one with dragons, gotta try to find someone who does dragons, and all the pony people we follow, they don't all do dragons.
DJ Thump, great question. Have you attended or considered attending any pony conventions? A sizable contingent of pony authors and types attend BronyCon. We were scheduled to go to BronyCon last year and backed out at the last minute. The reason why we backed out is because DragonCon, BronyCon, and a wedding we were attending were all within basically 40 days of each other. And it was just way too much. We have, at this time, booked tickets and rooms for BronyCon of next year. We will be there, unless something dramatic happens.
Also, I was in Canada.
And yes, Runic was in Canada.
I was not at the Stampede. I don't know what that is.
Okay, and as requested, since we have 10 minutes left, I'm going to tell a trombone joke. This is another bad joke. I'm just warning you. So little Jimmy tells his mother, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a trombone player. Jimmy's mother says, now, honey, you can't do both.
But
Yeah, I know. They're all bad. They're all really bad. Let's see here. But no. Oh, go ahead, honey.
I was just going to ask, no new questions, but did we miss anyone's questions?
Yes, that's a good thing. Is there any question that you asked that we did not answer? Because we weren't skipping anything. We just didn't. What about Tyrek do I not like? Oh my goodness. Everything? Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Okay. So let me go through this here. All right. Let me do this thing. I'll do it. We got 8 minutes. I'll do this. Okay. What don't I like about Tyrek? So first and foremost, I liked that they were trying to bring back, an older My Little Pony thing. But so here's my thing. When we watched that finale, I felt like I was watching Dragon Ball Z. And, there's just so many things that they threw in there, right? Like, okay, so Pegasus can fly because of magic. Okay, I can kind of buy that, but so he pulls it out. Okay, so Earth ponies don't have strength without it, and Discord didn't see it coming. It's just he was a Dragon Ball Z villain in a non-Dragon Ball Z show, and that's just sort of like oh my goodness. Okay, the other thing is for me, it's the elements of harmony are having an effect on the Quill and Bade universe. We just don't see it, right? Because some stuff is going on, but it's obviously not the same stuff. And if, based on what we know of Tyrek, what could the Royal Guard do against him? Nothing, right? I mean, he destroyed all of Equestria in the span of like 3 hours, including, all the alicorns, exactly, right? It's just, no. I will. It's not a spoiler to say Tyrek doesn't exist and will never exist in Quill and Blade. Or I might use him as some like joke thing, but he's not there. He's just not there. It won't fit.
Oh, wrong button. I was like, why isn't this working? Would I voice a character? I guess maybe. I don't really know whose voice I would do. And as for what inspired Crystal Witch's colors, well, she was never really intended to be an OC from the beginning. When I first joined FemFiction, I was just like, well, I kind of want a pony Sona. So I reached out to Nalu about that, and I basically just made her me, but with some, a pony, a unicorn, with the pink. I don't have the pink in my hair, and with the kind of hair I always wished I had. So she's kind of like, if I were the pony I wished I could be, she's just me. And then when Ansel decided he was going to start writing memoirs, he was like, well, would you want a pony in it? It's like, absolutely. I'll just use this one I made because, she was pretty and I kind of liked her. And then eventually it kind of snowballed into her own distinct thing.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. But before I answer your question, which will probably be the last question we answer, I'm going to tell another bad joke at the request of somebody. Why do chicken coops only have 2 doors? Because if they had 4, they would be a chicken sedan. Okay. Did you? Oh crap! My screen. Did you adjust the Crystal Empire lore because of Sombra's lack of severely needed speech therapy, or is there another reason for it? I have an entirely different idea of what I wanted to use the Crystal Empire for, Sombra, that whole thing from the outset. It's also another reason why, or not a reason why, there was no necessity for Cadence to be a unicorn because I knew that she was never going to get tossed. So I had a whole different idea in mind for that whole thing, and I'm not going to say that Sombra's not going to play a part because he will. He will play a part he's already been mentioned in the lore. It may not be the part that y'all are thinking because again, it's my whole canon for that's completely different. And I didn't have anything against that. I actually liked it other than the fact that I felt Sombra was wasted as a villain. It's crystals and then they beat him. The end. I'm like, well, that's a pain in the butt. You have this giant, amazing potential, who in the comics comes across as very, very, very different. So it's one of those things. It's just like, Right. And yes, in the comic, yes, he comes across as a non-evil in the other side. Okay, we got about 4 minutes left. Then that'll be the official end. Anyone's welcome to kind of hang out for a bit. Your invites will expire once you leave. If any of our patrons have joined that have not been around, we'll do that. I'll take care of y'all.